You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, bar, arcade, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play WWF Attitude thanks to Mega Mark Bret Vann. Will this game hold up today? Will we play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor? You're fired! All this plus gaming news, GMP64 WrestleMania, and Clash at the Feast. Plug in, put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks. Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis, and today we are playing WWF Attitude.
2 years to the day that we played Warzone. That's crazy. And as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen and join the conversation on social media at Game Marks Pod and on Patreon at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. George boy, how's your voice doing? We did a lot of yelling last night at GMP64 WrestleMania, but here we are.
Voice is, definitely seen some better days. Little hoarse right now because of Mania last night live on Twitch, but what an event. What a season one to GMP64. It was probably one of the most labor intensive, but also incredibly rewarding things that we've ever done here on this podcast, aside from the actual full regular podcast. But, something that pushed us out of our comfort zone in terms of like things that we've never done. I've never thought about hacking a video game, let alone WWF No Mercy, but you learn something, and it was cool. It was very, very interesting, very eye-opening experience, and had a great time. What about you?
Yeah, I say we get the WrestleMania talk out of the way right now, GMP64, because we are reeling. Our community is reeling. It was such a good event. Our friend David C. Anderson dropped by. Familiar faces, Brian Myers, Mark Sterling, Phil Cardigan, TK Wild. Everyone was involved. It was just a nice event. We had to end season one with a bang, and I think we did. And we have ideas for season two after a nice break that we're going to take. So I think this week we're going to put out a GMP64 retrospect episode where we break down our thought process on some things, how we made it work. We'll answer some questions, do some awards, and we'll post that maybe in the Thursday slot like GMP64 used to be.
I like that idea a lot. I think that's a good thing. And hey, if you guys have any questions, let us know on any form of social media. We are at Game Marks Pod. If you are a fan of this podcast and you liked what we did with GMP64, just slide in to those DMs. Give us a little at message. Let us know what you thought, and let us know if you have any questions. We'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, so let's go back to last week. We played WWE WrestleMania 21. So fun fact, had a garage sale yesterday since I'm moving. I actually found the WrestleMania 21 disc. And when I put together my pile of PlayStation 1 games and some 360 games, I had some Gears of War games in there, whatever. WrestleMania, it stayed on the shelf. I kept it this long. I'm not about to give it up yet, even though I still can't play it. It's the original one I owned back in 2005, and it is still going to sit on that shelf. So we'll see what happens if I ever get an Xbox and can actually do something with it again.
I think that's a very good plan. Keep it. You never know what's going to happen, especially with all that new space you're going to have in your new house. You might have a little like a Hall of Fame game wall going on there.
I'm not sure that would be on that, but yeah.
It could be a bad Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So what's new on Patreon? Today you're getting this show ad-free. Tomorrow you're getting the show notes, and GMP Game Over is actually going to take a week's hiatus since we need to recoup from WrestleMania. But on top of the show notes, I think I'm going to post the whole GMP Excel sheet that we've used to drive all 8 months of the show. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we have to dress it up a little bit, but
Yeah,
I don't mind that.
It's fine. I think it's fun as is. See our thought process on some things. Wednesday, you're getting Future Endeavored. Last week, George played Steel Cage Challenge, and this week in the same realm, I'm going to be playing WWF Royal Rumble. Thursday, you're getting some bonus content, and Friday, Clash and Burn as usual. But Georgie, tell us about the streamer spotlight for the month of October. We're in a new month now. Goodbye, Marauding Night.
I love this guy. Been a friend of mine for a really long time. You used to actually work in retail together, and
sounds terrible.
Oh yeah, retail was the worst. But twitch.tv/HuffDat42, HUFDAT 42. You name it, this guy plays it. Plays Rock Band live. He's got a full-blown electronic drum kit that he's hooked up to his computer, and he uses that as his Rock Band controller. He's really, really good at Rock Band. But he also plays new and classic games. He plays Diablo 2 Resurrected. He plays Destiny. He plays Sea of Thieves. He plays New World. He's got a little bit of something for everybody, and he's just a really fun guy. I've known him for a number of years, and I think, I use this spotlight to encourage people to support streamers who have a similar type of attitude to me and John. And I think that HuffDat really encompasses that. He's very fun, very outgoing guy, great personality, loves video games. I think that you guys are going to like him too. Twitch.tv/HuffDat42.
I like it, but now let's talk about YouTube for a second, because when we hit 400 subscribers, we are dropping the video game history of the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, the Legion of Doom. We are currently at 365. That's crazy. We started this at 290. We've made our way all the way up. We're so close to hitting the 400, and we will drop that episode, so head on over to YouTube today and hit that sub button.
But we also have available on our website, GameMarksPod.com/shop. You can now get our own brand of custom controller grips, our GMP guitar picks, our year 1 and year 2 prints, and exclusive t-shirts.
That's right. And actually, George, I'm going to say something right now for our Patreon. We could take this out if you don't want to keep it in, but we're going to start doing monthly prints and 8x10s exclusively for our Patreon, $5 and up. So you can look forward to that too. It's not just going to be, play it forever, Game Marks. We're going to do some cool stuff here. We're going to have some artwork, and I think it's going to be a fun little thing that we're going to send to our patrons, saying thank you.
I absolutely love this idea.
But what do you say right now we throw to some gaming news, because we got some stuff here.
Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
WWE Undefeated has added a host of larger-than-life superstars and legends to the roster, and now we have an extended look at the latest to join the lineup. This time, it's one of the most legendary stars in all of professional wrestling. It's none other than Hulk Hogan. The WWE icon is joining a loaded roster, and you could take a look at the legend in action in the new trailer that they have posted. A full-blown remake of Konami's Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is said to now be in development. While many fans have been under the impression in recent years that Konami would look soon to remake the original, the publisher is said to have instead partnered with an outside studio to recreate the first mainline entry, which featured the protagonist of Big Boss. Not the Big Boss Man. This news of the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake being in the works specifically comes way of VGC. That's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back next week. George, you're a big Metal Gear guy.
Remake. It's so not only am I a big Metal Gear Solid guy, as you very accurately said, Metal Gear Solid 3 is my number one.
That's what I was going to ask.
Metal Gear Solid game.
If you're okay with them remaking number 3 rather than going back.
So chronologically, not in terms of games of release, but in how the storyline plays out, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is actually kind of early in the storyline.
Okay.
So it takes place before like Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, and 4. So chronologically, it makes sense. But the game mechanics and the story of Snake Eater and like the little Easter eggs, it's so good. It's so good.
See, it's still something I'll probably have to go check out because I wasn't a big Metal Gear guy other than I think I had it on a demo CD for PS1. But that was the extent of my play. But also Halo Infinite multiplayer opened up again last week. I've seen some streamers having fun with that. So make sure you know which streamers are actually playing it if you want to go check it out for yourself.
Yeah, but I think it's time that we throw it on over to the question of the week.
What's up, Game Marks? Are you trying to look your best while repping your favorite video game podcast duo? We know just the place. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod to pick up your favorite GMP designs, including our various logo tees, Future Endeavor, the classic NES Pro Wrestling style tee, and of course, Mark the F out. Order today and receive a phone call from us. You never know who will pop in. That's ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod. Play it forever.
All right, so the question of the week is a weekly segment where you ask us a question on any form of social media at Game Marks Pod, and if we pick your question, you get a Game Marks Podcast prize pack. Now, in the last couple of weeks, we haven't had any questions that were a duplicate or something along the lines of something that we've already answered in the past, but our good friend Germ85, Jeremy in our Discord, asked a very interesting question, and I'm making the executive decision. I'm picking this question this week. Is there any game company, game producer, or another electronic company that could have made a console and had possible success with it? Now, this goes along the lines of the Google Stadia. I'll even throw the N-Gage in there. Game or electronic and software companies or game producing companies that make electronics but not necessarily consoles.
Okay. Yeah, this is a weird one because I feel like the Google Stadia exists already. It's not big. It's just not big at all. I think Amazon, Netflix might dabble a little bit, but not really console. I know.
I would say console is not.
Yeah, Apple made the Bandai Pippin, if you remember, in 96, 97-ish. And
that name does jog some memories.
It just looks like kind of an SNES with like a weird controller. So they were a little ahead of their time because it's probably what the Xbox could have been if it started earlier. I'm just going to say that. So like Microsoft is a big company. I feel like Apple could throw their hat in the ring and make a console at some point, but do we need it? At this point on like Xbox and PlayStation, you're getting almost the same games other than the exclusives. You get Apple, you're getting a whole new system, probably the same games and then some exclusives on top of that, but are they going to be worth it?
I'm trying to remember if... So my thought process behind this is I'm thinking of major like television brands. So like Sony obviously makes television. No, but like Sony makes televisions, but they obviously they have the PlayStation. But like Samsung, huge company, don't remember them ever dabbling in a console.
But they're kind of they're like in cahoots with Google there. So it probably runs on like Android. It's probably something to do with Samsung as well. Plus, I'm sure Samsung parts are in every console.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm saying like Samsung coming out and being like, hey, we are now making... Because Samsung's partnered up with Xbox. They've partnered with Sony with the PlayStation. Like they've made peripherals and like add-ons for consoles, but they've never made their own console. That Xbox camera or the PlayStation camera that you had.
Yeah.
You had the PlayStation on or you had the Xbox camera?
PlayStation camera.
Okay. Because I'm pretty sure the Xbox camera is made by Samsung.
Yeah, I don't think the PlayStation one was, but yeah, that sounds familiar. But it's like let's buy the HP Power Box. or something like that, you know?
or like LG or trying to think, literally like all these big company brands that or like Spectre.
We don't need another one.
No, I agree, but I'm surprised. The gaming market is oversaturated as it is. But going off of Germ's question, I'm surprised more companies don't do that to try to stick their horse in the race. Like, hey, guess what? Now we're a part of this and we're in here, and you know.
Yeah, and there was I think there were rumors that Apple was making a console, but that never actually came to be. So I guess
because probably they saw how bad the Google did, the Stadia.
Yeah, but we have PlayStation, Xbox, PCs, Nintendo. What else could we do? Get like a new Atari system?
I don't know. Tell NVIDIA, they keep making stuff.
Yeah, no, we're good. But good question.
Where's the Radeon console?
We're on it right now.
Yeah.
But all right, good question, Jerem. As now we throw to you guys, the fan. Is there another game company, game producer, or any other electronic company that could have made a console? And would it have been successful? Let us know.
All right, John, is it time for us to do our deep dive into WWF Attitude?
Oh, boy. Okay, let's get this over with.
All right, WWF Attitude released. This is a long and complicated one. July 31st, 1999 for the N64. August 5th, 1999 for the PlayStation. November 9th, 1999 for the Dreamcast. June 1999 for the Game Boy Color. What a weird amalgamation and just crazy ass timeline for this game release.
I actually had that Game Boy Color game, and while we're gonna do that in a separate deep dive eventually, I just gotta say, it was terrible.
Yeah, most of these wrestling ports that were from, I don't want to say a major console because the Game Boy is a major console, but like from a
non-handheld.
The non-handheld consoles always are bad. But then you get a game like Survivor Series, which was made only for the Game Boy, and it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, or like Road to WrestleMania or something. Yeah, those are pretty
King
good.
of the Ring.
Well, I future endeavored that one. But okay.
So did I. Just had to get it in there. You know, that yearly King of the Ring reference.
Yeah.
All right. So this game is developed by our good friends. You know them, you love them. Acclaim Studios, Salt Lake City. Published by Acclaim Entertainment. And John, why don't you let us know some other wrestling games that are out in 99?
99 was huge not only for wrestling, but for the games that come out with them. So King Soul, All Japan Pro Wrestling for the PlayStation. Giant Graham, All Japan Pro Wrestling 2 for the Dreamcast. New Japan Pro Wrestling, Tokan Retsuden 4 for the Dreamcast. WCW NWO Thunder for the PlayStation. Ugh. WCW Mayhem for the PlayStation, N64, and Game Boy Color. WWF WrestleMania 2000 for the N64 and the Game Boy Color, if you want to make those two count together. I don't really know. And Fire Pro Wrestling G for the PlayStation. Now, that's one. Did we play that one yet? I don't remember. We've played so many. The pool is so big.
I feel like Fire Pro Wrestling G is the one that Soups recommended us to play a couple months back.
So find it in our archives.
But man, so this was I'm saying this like it was like a detriment to my gaming. This is a hard year in video gaming for George, young George 99, because, you know, holiday season rolls around, birthday season rolls around. George, you're getting one game. What do you want?
Oh boy, Mayhem, obviously.
Do I want? Well, so it was in between. Do I want Attitude? Or do I want WrestleMania 2000? And, John, I'm going to hold up something on the camera so you could see it.
And he got WrestleMania 2000.
WrestleMania 2000 was the decision. I just held up my childhood copy of WrestleMania 2000 for the N64. I think I made the right choice. Not that Attitude is necessarily a bad game when compared to Warzone, but compared to other games that are out there at the time, we'll get into it a little later.
Yeah, so I actually had, like I said, I had this for the Game Boy, but I also I got it a little bit later, Attitude, where I bought it secondhand at like a GameStop or something, maybe in like 2002, 2003. But I had a friend who had this, and this was like the friend that you would go over their house almost every weekend in like 1999. So it was like I had Attitude, like I knew it, I knew the controls, I memorized the finishers and all that. But I didn't actually own the game until later on. See, I was sitting there playing Thunder and Mayhem, obviously.
Ah, Jesus. Thunder and Mayhem. You made some questionable decisions as a youth there, John.
I was a WCW kid. We all know that.
So, let's talk about the game itself. As soon as you load up the game, after all the title screens and or the company logos and developer logos, there's a dedication to the late, great Owen Hart. This game comes out, obviously, the same year that he passes, and this is something that I very vividly remember.
Yeah.
When I would play this game, this always would come up. They use a great picture of Owen. He's got the Slammy Award in his hand. It's this is, whether or not you like the game, just to get this is kind of neat.
So let's break this down a little bit, because Acclaim actually put out a statement, and they said Acclaim would like to offer their sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Owen Hart. He was a great father, husband, son, brother, and friend. We remember his kindness, his patience, his sense of decency. We remember his great gifts in and out of the ring. He was a true friend to us over the years, and his light will continue to shine. And unfortunately, this was only one of 3 games that Owen has been in. But this is kind of timely in the sense that with the Owen Hart Foundation, there's a good chance he's now going to be in the AEW video game.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Owen when I was a kid, and even more so now as an adult. And I'm very excited to see what this is going to do for the legacy of Owen Hart. There's a potential for new action figures that aren't just micro brawlers. There's, like John just said, there's the opportunity for him to be in games. Maybe he pops up in AEW. General manager.
This is what we talked about.
Console game.
We talked about him when we talked about Retromania. Maybe he would be in something like that. But let's. GameSpot had an article by Sam Kennedy. He said, contrary to rumors flying around the internet, GameSpot News has confirmed with Acclaim that Owen Hart will remain a character in the WWF Attitude for the N64 and PlayStation. And they actually did take out the Blue Blazer outfit from Create a Character mode. So I think that was a good call.
Yeah, that was absolutely a good call. But just wanted to get that out of the way. Let's move forward, move on. Obviously, could do a whole episode talking about Owen Hart, and so many people have already done that, and they're probably way more qualified and could definitely do Owen
100%.
Better justice than we ever could. But just know we love and appreciate Owen Hart, and are very excited to see him get immortalized even more in figures and video games, and cannot wait to see what AEW and the Owen Hart Foundation are going to put together. But this game, WWF Attitude, is the sequel to a game that we have played and has unfortunately come up a lot because you and I both like to play Call of Duty Warzone. But this game is the sequel to WWF Warzone, also published by Acclaim. Now, WWF signed a deal with THQ later in 1999, ending the 10-year relationship with Acclaim that then resulted in WWF WrestleMania 2000. Now, we've also played the ECW games that were also made by Acclaimed. And
Same engine.
You got Hardcore Revolution and Anarchy Rules available in our archive. And
hey, go out of your way to listen to those, because Hardcore Revolution features a really cool interview with Danny Doring where we break down the mocap, we break down E3, and he was there. He lived it all. He was there for everything.
And Danny Doring, I'm just going to go on the record and say it, is the fucking man. He's awesome. He was so cool to hang out and talk to, and just had a million stories. Would gladly have him on the show anytime. So if memory serves, John, we future endeavored Hardcore Revolution and played it forever for Anarchy Rules, right? Because there was a bit more meat on the bone for Anarchy Rules.
So I played it forever for Hardcore Revolution, you future endeavored it. So when we get to Anarchy Rules, it's actually opposite, where I future endeavor it, you played it forever.
Oh, all right.
I think it was kind of just the nostalgia of it that held up for me for Hardcore Revolution. I had more invested in, and I love that game.
I like the addition of all the extra match types and things like that. That for me was a little more meat on the bone, a little more fun.
So I think at the end of this, when we do our Play It Forever Future Endeavor, let's also Play It Forever Future Endeavor, kind of pick one out of the 4 of these.
All right, yeah, I like that.
Right.
I think that's a great idea. But all right, let's break down this game even more. So, in this game, you get, and I'm going to use this term very, very lightly, entrances. And by entrances, I mean your guy walks out of a
dark abyss.
I would say a portal to the Nether from Minecraft. Does a weird Gumby-like walk to the ring.
I get that, the Gumby, yeah.
Gets into the ring, does a little pose, and then the match starts, and you get your little floating heads of little quips recorded by the actual wrestlers themselves, and then the match starts.
So it's different than Warzone. Warzone, you get the little half entrance with the camera not even moving down the ramp before the next guy is coming out, with everyone getting the same gold pyro. At least this you get somewhat of their full signature entrance. The most noticeable, I think, playing is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He doesn't have his signature walk that everybody knows and loves.
Look at that walk.
Yeah, look at that walk. He doesn't have the Stone Cold walk. He kind of has a drunk wobble. And I think we're in the era now in 1999 where he had the Stone Cold walk.
Yeah. I'll say this. The thing that immediately stood out to me and is something that stuck with me for years and years and years is the commentary team.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Jerry Lawler, Shane McMahon, and there's a couple of, I don't know, like quick little one-liners, like throwaway lines that actually are pretty funny. Because there's a part, if you hit a move and...
Save the whales, collect a whole cent. One of my favorites.
Shane McMahon says, oh yeah, he makes that look easy. And then Lawler goes, you want to get in the ring and try that, McMahon? And I was like, oh, foreshadowing.
Yeah, who would have thought Shane would be what he became?
Because I'm assuming, the game comes out in 99. Voice lines are recorded earlier. So when does Shane McMahon actually start wrestling?
He probably gets in there in like 99, 2000 with Kurt Angle, with Steve Blackman and all that. So he's probably maybe training, maybe spending some time with Tom Pritchard at this point.
Ah, yes. When he is when Vince demotes him to a referee, and then at Survivor Series, Shane turns heel and flips the bird at Austin, costing him the match.
So that's the born character of Shane McMahon.
So then in February 99... We start to get the Shane McMahon that we know and love today.
Shane O'Mac. All right, let's talk about, while we're talking about the entrances, let's talk about the actual graphics, because in Warzone we pointed out how they look like actual wrestlers. The textures are great. I think it's even better in Attitude. They kind of upped it a little bit more. And it's said, and now someone even recommended we did this, and we did. The Dreamcast version that we checked out is even better. The graphics are even more improved than the PlayStation and N64. Higher resolution texture maps.
Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, better animations. The crowd is less pixely. Dreamcast never really took off. It never really got like... I mean, maybe that would have been the console. Maybe there could have been a Sega console today if they had greater success. But it did have... It had everything to be a great console. There was just something about it. But it looks like wrestlers in the fact that on the opposite end you have like WrestleMania 2000 and Revenge, where they look nothing like actual humans and their arms aren't even attached to their bodies. And I believe it was Mayhem that actually started this type of like character texture where it's a full body texture.
Well, I feel like we said this when we played.
I'm sorry, not Mayhem. I was talking about Nitro, not Mayhem. Wrong name.
I feel like we said this when we talked about the ECW games. I feel like we talked about it when we played Warzone, and we're going to bring it up again. Now that we're talking about Attitude, if you combine the face scans of this game with the gameplay and literally everything else from the THQ AKI series, man, that is an unstoppable juggernaut of a game. I would be very, very invested in that game, mainly because the face scans in No Mercy are so bad.
Oh, terrible.
But in here, they look amazing. It is incredible what they were able to accomplish with just like a simple little face scan. It really gives you that feel of, it really highlights during the intro to the match where you get those little one-liners from your wrestlers and they're zoomed in really quickly on the face and closely on the face. You're just like, wow, that actually looks like X-Pac. Wow, that actually looks like Triple H. I'm actually looking at the guys who I usually see on TV.
Yeah, it was kind of one step under what we get in the SmackDown series a year later, which was even better.
Yeah,
that's even arguable. I feel like at some points the Attitude character models look even better than the SmackDown. Yeah, until you get to like Just Bring It, then you're like, okay, yeah, that's the Undertaker.
Yeah, that's when things really start to step up. But my big gripes with all those the disc-based games of the mid to late 90s is that they always ran those incredible intro videos where it's like it's not live footage, but it's like the 3D renders of the characters.
Oh yeah,
and the graphics in those renders are always so much better than the game.
Always, every game does that. Come on, look at like the Avengers
so
commercial.
Good.
Yeah. But all right, this game has virtually the same controls as WWF Warzone, where you press start to look at your moves, except this time the finishers are actually included, so you could actually see what it takes to make your finisher, where Warzone, you kind of had to pick up a strategy guide or kind of guess or look up online, which not many people did back then.
No, I definitely went over to a friend's house at this age who had internet and a printer, and I was just like, hey, can you just print me out this game winners?
I only knew the stunner.
Yeah. Could you just print me out this game winners page so I just have this whole spread of everyone's moves and finishers? It's like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, but let's talk about the game moves. Let's talk about the game modes here, because they added a lot more than Warzone. Warzone was very limited. You couldn't even pick your opponent in Warzone. It was a little ridiculous. But right here, you get create a stable mode, which you see later on in the ECW games as well. You get a pay-per-view mode where you could set up your own pay-per-view and actually make it happen. And that goes back to even setting up your own ring and what you want the arena to look like. And in your exhibition modes, you have Versus, Tag Team, Tornado Tag Team, 1-on-2, 1-on-3, Lumberjack, Gauntlet, Tag Gauntlet, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, Battle Royal, War, Stable Match, Triple Threat, and a Triangle Match. And on top of that, you also get a King of the Ring mode.
I cannot tell you how iconic these match types are. For some reason, when I think of this game, I can like picture the menu.
Oh yeah,
like
Lumberjack.
I think of the menu of this game more so than like the actual wrestlers and like the wrestling part of the game, just because every part of this game happens in this menu style. So like you pick your game style when you're working through the career mode, when you're making your wrestler, like all of that happens in this very similar, very familiar,
very late 90s
style.
Grungy looking box.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Rusty grunge metal with like the diamond plate steel. Like it's just, for some reason, this is the most memorable part of this game for me, but that's just my experience, because I am that person that will make like 55 creator wrestlers. Like, yeah, it's cool. I got all this memory slot, all these memory slots on my memory pack. I'm gonna fill them all for this game.
Everyone always made Biohazard Man because the stuff was right there.
Oh yeah, it was easy. My favorite part for this game was the voice, the what is it called? The generic, I guess, voice lines that weren't like actual wrestlers.
We're gonna get to that later.
Oh, it's my favorite part of this game.
There's actually a little insight on that. But there's also a career mode in here, which replaces challenge mode from Warzone, and you use any wrestler from the roster. You get 3 title runs. You start with the European title, you work your way up to the Intercontinental, and eventually you get that Winged Eagle WWF title. You go through a list of wrestlers. You get various match types, different situations. After you win the belt, you have to defend it against the top 5 wrestlers. Now, I remember this being a big tier mode, and the game that I had, it must have had an issue with the disc or some sort of memory issue where once I got to the top, like I remember it being Triple H, I couldn't face him for the world title. Like it just stopped. Like I couldn't click on his name. I don't know what it was. Like the game didn't freeze or anything. His name was up top. I just couldn't proceed after I got the number 1 contender match. So the game I had, I guess, was broken. But also, you can do this as a tag team, and you can win the tag team titles with a computer character, and by completing the career mode, you unlock more wrestlers and cheats, and there's actually a cheat menu option. So this isn't a game where you had to guess the cheats, and you can look them up online, and they actually acknowledge, like, hey, we have cheats, and you could put them in here, which is like big wrestler mode, big head mode, the typical Acclaim game stuff you're going to get all the time.
Or you could be like George and have a Game Shark, and then you don't need cheat codes. You just put all like the unlock stuff, and you have everything right off the bat.
Yeah, but see, you're an N64 guy at this time. I'm a PlayStation guy. It was way easier for you.
Oh yeah, because you had to like swap discs and use like action replays and
yeah, no. So I was just popping in codes.
A little more complicated for you guys.
Popping in codes.
I don't know. It's like some weird nostalgia happening every time we talk about like this wave of nostalgia, and like this doesn't really happen unless we're like really playing a big game. And I didn't really like, to me, this doesn't rank as like a big game for my childhood, but playing it, talking about it,
this was huge.
I'm just getting that wave of nostalgia, and I'm like, I thought that I was going to have very different feelings about this game.
So, you know what I just remembered? One of my friends brought this over. The one friend who had it, that we all played it, he brought it over for my birthday so we could play it with like all of our other friends. So we're all sitting in my room. We're all playing it. There was this one kid there that people like, he was my neighbor, but like no one was really too fond of him. Like everyone kind of hated his guts because he was an asshole.
So me on this podcast?
No. He was like a real, like a little shit stirrer, but he was there. And my friend who owned the game, he was so good at it that nobody could beat him. That I remember specifically, this kid that nobody liked picked Owen Hart and beat my friend, and we were all going nuts because someone finally beat him, and my friend got so mad, I think he just popped that disc open while the game was on, took it, and left.
Wow.
Yeah, he was that pissed. They did not get along. They did not get along, and on top of that, he just beat him with Owen Hart. Oh, no way.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So you're talking nostalgia. I got a lot with this game.
WWF Attitude, breaking up friendships and ruining game nights.
But let's talk about Create a Wrestler for a minute, because you could make the gender, so you can make a male or a female. So some games don't have that. You could only make a male wrestler, but this game you could do either. You could do the attributes, your moveset, your entrances, and your taunts. Now, this isn't well drawn out like the later games. You're not getting that many moves. Not getting one of those entrances where you're picking each part of it and walking down the ring saying, oh, my pyro goes here. No, you're getting a generic entrance. You're picking a wrestler. You're taking theirs. You could do what I do. You could always just take your wrestler, copy and paste another wrestler onto them, and you could just make what your guy looks like. And now, of course, there were fan-dedicated websites that I know I used, I know George used, where you could just make your wrestler and all the attributes are already there to pick which parts. Say you want to make Goldberg. There you go. Here you go. Use head number 5.
And right there, John, is where I spent most of my childhood. That was my bread and butter. Is one of my favorite things to do as a kid. And honestly, it's kind of one of my favorite things to do now. Again, going back to GMP64, creating the wrestlers and figuring out how we were going to use the create a wrestler slots, and making the wrestlers and changing their attires and like making different versions of them always has been one of my favorite parts of a wrestling game, and this game was no exception. I definitely had I feel like we mentioned it in other games too. I had my little create a wrestler binder with all like the things that I would all the pages and recipes that I would print out over the years, and yeah, I love doing it. It's still one of my favorite things to do.
I thought I found mine yesterday, but it was actually a guitar tab book. Oh. I was like, oh, wrong one. Same realm, but wrong one. And this is just a lot of from first to last songs that I never learned how to play.
Yeah, I know I don't have mine anymore. But speaking of wrestlers, you ready to dive in to this roster?
Oh boy, let's go. You want me to take this?
I'll take this. You take the secret,
Okay,
guys.
sounds good.
All right, so your roster for WWF Attitude is Al Snow, Big Boss Man, Billy Gunn, Bradshaw, Brian Christopher, Christian, D'Lo Brown, Dr. Death, Draws, Edge, Farouk, Gangrel, The Godfather, Goldust, Headbanger Mosh, Headbanger Thrasher, Jeff Jarrett, Kane, Ken Shamrock, Mankind, Mark Henry, Owen Hart, The Road Dogg, The Rock, Steve Austin, Steve Blackman, Triple H, The Undertaker, Val Venus, and X-Pac.
And now your secret characters, these are the ones that you unlock. You have Chyna, Head, Jacqueline, Jerry the King Lawler, Kurrigan, Mark Miro, Paul Bearer, Sable, Sergeant Slaughter, Shawn Michaels, Taka Michinoku, and The Trainer.
Were you a big Kurgan guy
Not really, no.
when you were a kid?
See, he was a little bit before I started watching. Like, I came in with the oddities, but they weren't like a big deal. They were like Sunday Night Heat. So I didn't really, I don't know, I wasn't big into that.
So the Truth Commission was a stable. Kurgan was a part of it. Recon's in it. That's why in GMP64, I renamed Bull Buchanan into Recon because that's who he was in Truth Commission. But it's Kurgan, the Interrogator, Recon, Sniper, Tank, the Commandant, and the Jackal. And the Jackal, you know who the Jackal is?
That's that's Big Don Callis, ain't it?
Don Callis, yeah, but he's got long flowing locks, and he wore like the John Lennon sunglasses. Like, it's just quite a different look.
That guy
than
could talk.
The Don Callis that we know now. Very similar. Very similar, like promo delivery though. Just like, my guys are the best. We're the shit. Like, it's like all like so many parallels, but like him talking about Kurgan to him talking about Kenny Omega now.
Yeah, that's who I love comparing dominant. Kenny Omega to Kurgan.
No, but it's like the same way that Don Callis is up. Like Kurgan is a force. He's going to dominate. The Truth Commission is like the most dominant force in WWF. And then like hearing how he talks about Kenny Omega, where he's like, Kenny Omega is wrestling. Kenny Omega is the greatest superstar in all of wrestling. It's just like, it's funny. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. So also you have, I wish he was in this game actually. You also have,
oh man, I play as Don Callis all the time.
You have some arenas. You have Raw is War. You have that classic Raw is War that we all knew and we all loved, that monster ring that we all played in. You have Sunday Night Heat. You have a house show, which is just your generic arena. And then you have custom. You have a custom option where this is what I did all the time. So you could edit the lights. You could edit the ring ropes, the turnbuckles, the logos on the side of the ring. This is where you could get like your King of the Ring logo and all that. And this is kind of something similar we see in SmackDown, where you might have like Raw, SmackDown, Heat, and then a pay-per-view arena, and it just kind of changes the custom mat where you could make it a pay-per-view arena. I kind of always thought that was a cop-out until we got to the later games where they actually included the arenas, but this is something they've done all the way back to here. It continues through the ECW games. I always make the Elks Lodge with the yellow ropes and all that, but you could do it here as well.
Yeah, it's cool, and you can like, you know, the lighting effects are really cool. If you ever just wanted to have like a all blue or all red or all green arena, you could do that. The creative suite for this game, actually pretty cool and different in terms of things that you were able to make, and I always had a good time creating in this game.
Yeah, I think the more creation in games, the better. I mean, at a certain point now, you get too much creation, I think. Then give me just create a wrestler, give me create a belt and all that, and I'm good to go. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that.
I've mentioned before, I've created my own storylines in the later SmackDown and vs. Raw games, and as I go to play them, they crash. So make it work, make it workable.
All right, now let's move on and talk about this iconic game art.
See, this is the most iconic part, I think, because it just screams attitude, and you remember this no matter what. It's like the No Mercy and the Revenge cover. You know this cover, and it's literally the who's who.
I am currently looking to see if there was ever a WWF Attitude poster on the Edward Bay.
Ooh, just like a big one of this. I actually posted yesterday. You could look for it on Twitter. I posted a bunch of magazine scans. Not necessarily a poster, but some scans.
Those are cool. I want to know if there's like this game as a poster. So the only thing I'm seeing right now is there is a WWF Attitude PS1 N64 print ad poster, official Sable, The Rock, Triple H, WWE. It looks very much like what you posted.
Yeah,
it's just it's just like an ad from a magazine, but I don't know, John.
Let's break it down, though. Yeah. Let's break it down. I know the big Acclaim Sports logo bothers me. I said that in past episode when we were able to redesign. The WWF Attitude logo with Get It is huge, and that's all you really need. But behind it, in a dark red tone, you have Stone Cold, The Undertaker, The Rock, Mankind, and Triple H. Well, who else do you need on here?
I mean, that's the heavy hitters of 99. That's a who's who of wrestling in 99. And I think that might even be why I want this, just because of how iconic this is for the time. I mean, I am full on in loving wrestling in 99. Like, there is no turning back. I am locked in.
I think I have the disc packed away behind me in these boxes, but I'm not going to go digging for it.
Yeah, I've got the cartridge somewhere in my room.
I probably have that too now. But let's go to the back now. WWF Attitude has the most features and fiercest gameplay of any wrestling game, says GamePro. Now, we say every week that GamePro's a little sketchy with their reviews, so they obviously took that one and put it up there the same year WrestleMania 2000 comes out, so whatever.
Yeah.
First ever create your own pay-per-view mode. It shows some match types there. I did actually do this quite a bit. It was a lot of fun. Now featuring over 40 of your favorite WWF superstars, including Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Mankind, The Undertaker, and D-Generation X. Customize your own wrestlers' moveset and costumes. Two-man commentary featuring Shane McMahon and Jerry Lawler. Now we get to our screenshots, George. They're not just square boxes. They got a little bit of a torn edge around them. Wrestle your way into the title in an all-new career mode with a nice picture of Sable and Chyna locking up. Now you have real-life WWF entrances and theme songs with Triple H doing his little suck it pose. I have a little pointer on that in a little bit. Over 20 game modes, including the all-new specialty matches, and it shows a four-way between Stone Cold, Triple H, The Rock, and The Undertaker. Now the disc and the cartridge have the same image, the same red-toned image as the cover, which I guess that was easy since PS1 games were typically duotone, so I guess it was easy for them to replicate on here.
Oh yeah, a little different layout on the disc. The N64 cartridge is pretty much the exact same artwork that you would find on the box or on the jewel case for the CD, but because of, it's a CD, got a giant hole in the center of the disc, and you need to leave a little space around it. The layout of the WWF Attitude is a little different.
But I want to talk about the actual entrances and how it said real life entrances and theme songs. You've
been waiting to talk about this, so let's talk about it now.
There's some stuff here that you don't get in other games. So say Attitude, Road Dogg comes out. The "oh, you didn't know" is already in there. In this game, Road Dogg comes out with a microphone, and he does it. Like, he does the parts. Like, you see him talking into the microphone. Whereas when Billy Gunn comes out, he has the same music, but there's no talking. It's just dan. So I think that's cool. Now Triple H comes out. On top of everyone getting their own kind of taunt promo in the beginning, Triple H cuts like an actual DX promo. He has the DX pyro behind him, the two green, they look like really bad lightsaber renders going off behind him, but he does a promo, something like, "and the fat guy sitting at home playing this video game." Like, he calls a lot back to like breaking the fourth wall to the fact that this is a game. But this is stuff you don't get in other games.
Yeah, this is something that was really, really cool, and I think a aspect of this game that I think goes widely underappreciated is the little touches that break the fourth wall and the little customizations, like you said, Road Dogg entrance, Triple H entrance, like things that we may have taken for granted in 99 that weren't necessarily a staple of wrestling games, but like, imagine now they put the Road Dogg in a game, and it's imagine they put the New Age Outlaws in the game, you set them up in a tag match, and they come out and you're playing, whatever 2K game, and he comes out with a mic You hear Road Dogg talking over in the background, but he's not actually like holding the mic to his mouth or anything like that. Like you would be like, what the hell is this game?
Yeah.
Why is it not like this? But in this game, in 99, there are no expectations because in your head, this is not possible. Even in No Mercy, Road Dogg walks out with a microphone, but he never holds the mic up to his mouth. No. He never actually does anything with the microphone. He just comes out with it. But in this game, there's actual movement and utilization of what your wrestler comes out with, which is cool.
Even Mankind comes out with Mr. Sacco on his hand. He rocks back and forth in the ring. They tried in this game. They actually tried, and you could tell they tried, and that's really all I care about. Let's talk a little bit about the art, though. So while the N64 and the PlayStation version, you said the textures are a little less, so your ropes are just going to be kind of straight red lines. They don't really look like ropes. The Dreamcast version, you get textured ropes. The steel steps are textured. The crowd, you could actually see their faces, whereas the crowd in the other versions, it's the papery, pixely crowd that we're used to, so it's not that great.
It's crazy, the huge difference. Just okay, I'm going to try to say this and not nerd out too bad here.
You could try.
So there's a feature that's in modern games. It's anti-aliasing. I don't know if you're familiar with that or what that means.
Yes.
But pretty much what it means is that any jagged textures, the game will do its best to smooth out sharp or rough textures or model lines. So like if you look at this game and you're playing it on the N64 or you're playing it on the PlayStation, you may notice that when you're looking at the ropes from a diagonal perspective, that maybe there's like a line break, or like it almost looks like the shape of the rope is pixelated. And every time we go back and we play these games and I see something like that, I'm like, wow, we just accepted that. Like that's something that's pre-built into all games now, is that the option to smooth these model lines and textures. And it's just we just didn't know anything about gaming then. We were just yeah, this is great. These
awesome.
Graphics are groundbreaking. I love it.
Xbox the same height as Triple H. Yeah, this is awesome.
Perfect. Let's do it.
So another thing that they upgraded from Warzone here is the health meter, where in Warzone you had to kind of go through waves and it took a little longer. Like you would get the bar all the way down green, then it would be lime green, then it would be yellow, then it would be orange. In this one, it's just one bar that just goes down from green all the way to red, and then you could hit your finisher. I think that's it's a lot easier to get and a lot easier to actually finish a match with and actually hit your finisher.
I feel like moves did more damage here. I feel like when we played Warzone, the matches took forever because the amount of damage that you had to do to even just get your opponent to the next color so you can be able to do more moves was forever. We played this game individually, came back, played together for Clash at the Feast, and we both said the same thing when we loaded up. This game just feels faster and smoother than Warzone.
Yeah, definitely.
The matches definitely don't take as long as they had in the past. I was nervous before we recorded this game because I was the last time that we played one of the acclaimed wrestling games, it was the longest Clash at the Feast video that we had ever done.
I could have done that this game, but I chose not to.
No, but but that's the thing. I feel like you couldn't have, because moves did so much more damage in this game that even if you did try to do the same strategy that you did back in Anarchy Rules, you probably would have been successful, but not as successful, because the one or two moves that I would hit you with would have done so much more damage that eventually I would have wore you down way faster. It was just the pacing of this game was very good.
Yeah, and also when you get to the Dreamcast, PlayStation, N64, did you know? Did you know, though not playable in WWF Attitude, the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, provided the motion capture for the moves?
Did you know, originally, this game was supposed to have fictional jobbers that players would face early on in the career mode. For unknown reasons, the fictional jobbers were removed from the game. However, their voices, ring attires, and entrance to these songs remain accessible in the Create a Wrestler mode.
Did you know this game runs on eBay around $5 for the disc or cartridge, $200 sealed, and a graded copy with a 9.5 is going for $1,199.
That's a lot of money, John.
So there was a sealed one that had a bid for $550, free shipping. And I went in there.
Oh, free shipping. That makes all the difference.
I went in there and I plugged in $10 and it said, you've been outbid immediately. So I was like, okay, I'm not going past this. And I've been monitoring it. It's only up to about $12 right now for a brand new game sealed. So if a graded one's going for $1,199, if anyone wants to jump on that, go ahead. Check out some sealed copies of Attitude and get them graded. I'm not going to do it.
No. That's a little rich for my blood. But, John, I feel kind of mean about this one because you also did a lot of work for GMP WrestleMania. I just need a little break here. I gotta rest my vocal cords, man. Could you give us some R&R, some ratings and reviews?
All right, so I actually took out the Game Boy Color ratings from these because we're going to talk about that in a different game. We're going to go with the Dreamcast first. Game Rankings gives this a 59%, all game with a 2.5 stars, EGM with a 7 out of 10, Game Informer with an 8.5 out of 10, Game Fan with a 40%, Game Pro with a 3.5 stars, Game Revolution with a B, GameSpot with a 6.8 out of 10, Game Spy with a 4.5 out of 10, IGN with an 8 out of 10, and Next Generation with a 1 out of 5 stars. Now let's go to the N64. Game Rankings with a 74%. All Game with a 3 out of 5 stars. EGM with an 8.25 out of 10. Game Informer with a 9.25 out of 10. Wow. Game Pro with a 4 out of 5 stars. GameSpot with an 8 out of 10. Hyper with a 68%. IGN with an 8.7 out of 10. N64 Magazine with an 88%. Next Generation with a 2 out of 5 stars. And Nintendo Power with a 7.4 out of 10. And now the PlayStation. This seemed to be the winner of them all. 79% on Game Rankings, all game with a 3.5 stars, EGM with an 8 out of 10, Game Informer with a 9 out of 10, Game Pro with a 3.5 stars, Game Revolution with an A-, GameSpot with an 8.1 out of 10, IGN with a 8.3 out of 10, and OPM with a 4 out of 5 stars. Now, the game received positive feedback for its sound, specifically the dueling crowd chants that you can get that get behind your wrestlers and kind of help your wrestlers' energy along the way. Commentary from Jerry Lawler and Shane McMahon and the wrestlers' voices themselves. In the IGN review, they claim that the audio elements of Attitude are outstanding top to bottom. It's not necessarily the quality that got us, but the variety of bits and depth of sound samples that made us take notice. And I could definitely agree there. It kind of immerses you into the game with all the sounds.
Oh, yeah. The sound is definitely a huge selling point of this game. The music is pretty good. It's not by any means the best. It's like middle ground. It's not the best, it's not the worst, but the commentary, the voice quips in the middle of the matches, the random chants from the crowd are great. The sound really helps with the immersion in this game. And I agree. I agree with that. The sound definitely sells this game more than a lot of other aspects.
I think we covered mostly everything there is ratings-wise. I think the ratings were very high, but this game was good at the time. So with that, I leave it to us, because right now, it's time to rate the games.
Oh.
The game!
All right. I'm starting us off here first, John. WWF Attitude. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
You're fired!
All right, so I told you my stories. I have a lot of nostalgia for this game. I played it a lot growing up. I played it a lot even after that. But playing it this week, kind of remembering the struggle of this game and how hard it could be sometimes, and how much effort goes into pulling off a finisher and how frustrating it could be, I'm saying I prefer future endeavor.
You're fired!
So I said before, we're going to say which of these four we would rather play. Which one would get our play it forever, not necessarily forever, but of the four, which would we rather? Warzone, Attitude, Hardcore Revolution, Anarchy Rules. I'm picking Hardcore Revolution.
Ooh,
I put the most time into that one. I enjoyed that one the most. It was just a different roster than you're used to, so I'm going with that one. But now, George, what say you? WWF Attitude, play it forever, future endeavor.
All right, so I'm not going to be long-winded to this one. This was my game as a kid. This was the one that I put the most time into out of Warzone, Attitude, Hardcore Revolution, and Anarchy Rules. This was a major wave of nostalgia for me. I had a lot more fun than I expected to, even in my solo playthrough, not just with you and Clash of the Feast, because we say all the time, playing a game with someone does not make it a fun game. It just means that you have fun playing the game with the person. But I had a lot of fun playing this game solo, going through the career mode, making some wrestlers, got a lot of nostalgia. I'm trying to separate myself from the nostalgia goggles. I gotta say, I think this game is both for me. This is a play it forever for me, and out of all 4 games in this acclaimed series, I think this is my number 1.
Wow. Okay. Woo! Big words there. Okay, I'll take it. But all right, we talked about the gameplay. We talked about the game modes. We did our rankings. We heard other people's rankings. But what do you say we talk about our weekly tournament? Clash at the Feast.
All right, so right now, as it stands, it is 3-1. John clinched a whole month, guys. Round of applause for John. I'm very happy for him.
Oh, look at that smug asshole's face.
Does the streak continue, John?
For this week's game, check out youtube.com/GameMarks Podcast, where we play WWF Attitude. But yes, WWE WrestleMania 21 was the tiebreaker of September. First match, George picked Eddie Guerrero. He seems to have really bad luck with that guy. I picked Word Life, John Cena, and I took the win. The next match, speaking of bad luck, George picked Kurt Angle, and we did a Hell in a Cell, and he got the sweet chin music with the beautiful red lights for your winner of September, Johnny Clash.
Not everything's made to last. This is my life. This is my life.
All right. Got a hell of a lineup for this month, John. So,
we want to give it all again? We want to give them the whole rundown?
Might as well. So, here's the thing. The way that this podcast started originally, and how it evolved over the years, was I would pick a game, or John would pick a game, and then we did that little thing where I surprised John with a game every week, and then we started a Patreon, and if you are a Mega Mark in our Patreon, you get to pick the game that we play for a week. The problem with that is that now so many of you amazing people have signed up to be a Mega Mark that now John and I don't get to pick the games anymore. So, with that being said, this week, October 7th, you will get the GMP64 retrospect and Q&A, where John and I will talk all about GMP64, answer your questions. You can submit any question that you have about GMP64 on any form of social media at GameMarksPod. You know what, John? Let's not give the whole month away. Next week, October 11th, we are playing a game that I didn't even know existed. Did you?
I had no idea, but I got excited as soon as I heard.
One of our favorite games that we've ever played on the podcast, the dark horse of the entire gaming library. Did not know it existed. Very happy that we found it. Saturday Night Slam Masters has a sequel, Ring of Destruction Slam Masters 2, and that comes courtesy of the newest Mega Mark, NYY Collector. Very excited for this one. Didn't know it existed, but man, did we love Slam Masters.
I'm excited for this one. I'm excited for the rest of the month. We're not going to give away yet. I think we could put a bow on it, George. What do you say? I'm sick of hearing your voice at this point.
Yeah, you and I have done a lot together this last couple days. So with that, That is going to do it for this week on the Game Marks podcast. Please check out all of our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop. Join us on Patreon, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. It is the best way besides listening to support the podcast, and be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a 5-star review and the rating on Apple Podcasts. And hey, if you do, we may even select your review and read it on the podcast. You get a signed 8x10. And make sure to subscribe to wherever you choose to listen to podcasts. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. Thank you for the continued support. Thank you for hanging out with us for 8 months of GMP64. Johnny, do that thing.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks podcast every single Monday.